Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily. I am a third grade teacher in Southwest Louisiana, and the 2021 school year will be my third year teaching. Now today's video, I kind of just wanted to reflect on my first year and my second year teaching, give you a little bit of background about how I became a teacher, and just some of my struggles and how I finally found the grade I wanted to teach. So my first year teaching, I got my job the week before school started. I was hired as a fifth grade science and social studies teacher. So we were departmentalized, but I teach at a Title I school, and it's not always the best schools, Title I. So a Title I school is usually a low-income school with behavior problems. They usually have a low score. I know my school currently is at an F, unfortunately, but we are working hard to get that grade up for our school. And even though our school is an F, it's still a great school. Don't judge a school on its grade, okay? So I got hired as a fifth grade science and social studies teacher. We were departmentalized, but since the behavior of the fifth graders were so bad the year before, they decided that instead of the fifth graders moving classes like normally departmentalized would, they decided that we would cart teach. So if you've never heard of that, which I never had, I had no clue what cart teach meant. We got a literal cart. You can find them at Target or Michael's. It's the rolly carts with the 3 tiers. And sometimes they have like a top, so it's a flat surface, and sometimes they don't. Ours did, which was really nice because we could write, if we needed to write or anything. But we got a cart. We had to put all of our materials in this cart, and we switched classes. So there were 3 classes in this fifth grade. Science and social studies, math, and ELA. So we moved classes, and it was interesting. After that year, they got rid of it. So this past year, they went back to switching classes because let me tell you something. Cart teaching is not easy. Especially, I feel like being a science and social studies teacher, especially science, because you have all of these materials that you need for science. When you're working on experiments, you have all of these things that you have to have. And in my opinion, it was really hard to just carry all those things with me and have to set up from scratch every single time you went into a classroom. And it just, I feel like wasn't a good choice, but they were trying to fix the problem, and I completely understand where they were coming from, but I think they also realized it wasn't a good choice and cut the cart teaching out. But anyways, I originally thought before I became a teacher that fifth grade was going to be the grade for me. I liked the older kids. They got my sarcasm, they got my jokes. We could kind of pick back and forth with each other without it getting too serious, And I did enjoy that. But oh my gosh, I did not realize how big fifth graders are. Okay, I'm not a super tiny person. I'm about 5'5", which I feel is average. My husband doesn't agree, but anyways. So the fifth graders were either as tall as me or taller. And I don't know, but for some reason that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I could never teach middle school or high school just because everyone will be bigger than me. I'm not sure why, but I just didn't like for them to be bigger than me. And I guess I don't remember kids being that big when I was young, but maybe it was just because I was that big. Anyway, so one thing I did really like about fifth grade was that we were departmentalized. I got to see 3 different classes each day. I liked seeing the different kids throughout the day. It kind of broke up the monotony of the school day, and I just enjoyed getting to talk with those different personalities and see the different personalities in each. and be able to interact with those different kids. Another thing I liked, I think I just said this, but we were departmentalized, so I only had to focus on 2 subjects, which was science and social studies. Now, let me tell you something. It was not easy. In our district, ELA has a curriculum and math has a curriculum. So we use guidebooks and Eureka Math. And then science and social studies is just kind of there. They created our curriculum. Now, we do use discovering science through inquiry for science, but it's very kind of loosely used. So they make up like their own curriculum, and then we use that as supplements for science. And then social studies is kind of no curriculum. So they just kind of give you the information and some sources, and you kind of have to play with it. So I felt very difficult as a first year teacher to have to just come in, especially a week before school started, and pretty much create a science and social studies curriculum from scratch when the other 2 teachers had curriculum that they could just pretty much read through. And that's kind of how we do it at our school. You don't really stray too far off the curriculum for, not science, for ELA and math. So those are some pros and cons about 5th grade, but I really struggled my first year. They always say if you can get through your first year of teaching, you will be fine. And it's really true. My first year was rough. I cried multiple times. I was discouraged multiple times. But I got through. The 5th grade that year had very bad behavior problems. Like the whole school said so. And I was like, okay, great. I'm not crazy. That this is normal. It was not normal at all. We had some horrible behavior problems, fights, unfortunately. And I am not a super strict teacher, but our ELA teacher was. And I don't want to say it was hard for her, but even sometimes she struggled with the behavior problems. So my first year of teaching was not some magical year that I want to remember the rest of my life, but it was definitely a learning experience. So at the end of 5th grade, or the end of the year, my admin asked if you could move to any grade level, what would you want? We know you're not happy in 5th grade. And I was like, well, I think I would really like 3rd grade. A couple of the teachers in that grade, we were friends, and they kind of talked to me about it. And one of the 3rd grade teachers was moving to another part of Louisiana, so there was going to be a spot open. So they decided to move me to 3rd grade, and let me tell you, I have loved 3rd grade. They're just at that age where they're independent, but still somewhat dependent on you. So they don't really have those attitudes that 5th graders would have, and they still love you. Now, let me tell you, there are a few that have some attitudes. I had one this year that we had to have a heart-to-heart because the attitude was getting too much. Anyways, so at my school, 3rd grade is self-contained. We are still trying to convince our admin to departmentalize, but unfortunately they think that the 3rd graders are too young to handle that responsibility, but we're gonna work on them. So we are self-contained, which means we teach all subjects. So we are with the same students all day. The only time we are with different students is during RTI. RTI is where you work with kids who are below reading level, and you kind of help them get to where they need to be. So for RTI, we do kind of switch up the kids from 3rd grade, and we get new kids, but that lasts about 30-40 minutes. And that's about the only time that we have different kids throughout the day. So we are self-contained, but since there are 4 3rd grade teachers, we each take a subject to plan. So I have science because I have experience in science, and then the other teachers take social studies, ELA, and math. I did feel like I had more experience in science because that is what I focused on in 5th grade, but it's still really difficult to get the kids interested in science, I guess, because a lot of the curriculum is text heavy, I guess you could say. There's not a ton of experiments or hands-on. So I try to incorporate that into the curriculum a little bit more to get them more interested, because I mean, sometimes you can just see the blank stare that's on their face and you're like, oh no, gotta change this. So I try to keep that curriculum a little bit more interesting. There are certain areas in science where they are more interested because of what the content is than others. I know they really enjoyed fossils and genomes and like traits, so inherited traits and variations of traits. They loved that. They thought it was so cool. And honestly, it is a really cool topic and I enjoy teaching it. So that might be another reason why they were so interested in it. But I really enjoy teaching 3rd grade. I think I have found my niche, where I want to be and what I enjoy teaching. I actually enjoy everything that I teach in 3rd grade. Now, let me tell you, I'm not a math person, but I enjoy teaching this math. It is building foundations for them to use throughout their whole entire life. Teaching multiplication and division, basic fractions, graphs. It's just not hard, which, I mean, I could teach harder math, but it's not hard. And just being able to see them grasp those concepts, it's just, I enjoy that. So I know I said I teach at a Title I school, but I really enjoy my school. I think it really, really helps if you have great admin and support staff. So my admin is amazing. They are always there to support you. They always have your back no matter what. I mean, unless you do something really wrong, then. But they are just amazing. Our support staff is also really amazing. So our curriculum coordinator, our mentor teachers, our master teachers, they're always there to support you and help you in whatever you need. And that really makes a difference at a school. If you are not happy with the admin, it doesn't matter how happy you are with the kids or with what you teach or your grade level, you will most likely be miserable. And that's one thing that really helped me my first year when I was teaching 5th grade, and it was a struggle. My admin was always there to support me. They could always come in my class if I needed them, and they always had my back when I was dealing with behavior problems. Word of advice: if you are not a teacher yet and you are planning on being a teacher, sub before you go into an actual job. That way you can figure out what grade levels you're comfortable with and not comfortable with. I did sub before I became a full-time teacher, but I was kind of at a disadvantage because I have found my sister worked at a private school and they needed subs there really bad. So I started subbing there. Then they hired me as a long-term sub. So at first I was a long-term sub in pre-K, and then that was the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year, I was a long-term sub in kindergarten. Now let me tell you, that solidified the fact that I did not want to teach little kids. I loved my time there, but I could not see myself being a kindergarten teacher for the rest of my life. I just can't do it. They're way too dependent on you, and I like some independence, and that's really why I like 3rd grade. They're just enough independent and just enough dependent. It's a really happy medium there. If you are the type of person that needs a totally independent student, I don't know if you'll ever find that, but obviously I would suggest going into the older grades, maybe not even elementary school, because honestly, those 5th graders were still dependent, but just not as much. So my advice, sub, find where you are comfortable teaching. You might think that you are an elementary teacher and you sub middle and high school, and that might be where you really belong, or vice versa. You sub high school and middle thinking that's what you want to teach, and it's just too old or too much for you, and you can go down to elementary school. That's actually a lot of my friends who want to go into education have told me that when they sub, they realize, oh, they're in the wrong section. They don't want to do the higher, they want to go lower, or vice versa. So it really helps when you sub beforehand. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my background, my history, how my first year went, how my second year went. Unfortunately, didn't get to finish my second year how I wanted to, coronavirus. But I'm hoping next year goes better and we can go somewhat back to normal. But I just wanted to talk to y'all about how I started, where I'm at, what I'm doing. I am going to be doing more videos like this. I want to talk to y'all about my teaching certification and the program I'm in. So that'll be coming up in one of my next videos. But if you want more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button and leave me a comment. I'd love to know who you are and let me know about your first year teaching, just to make me feel a little bit better. But I'm so glad y'all could join me today, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Bye y'all.